two more episodes of Love is Blind Season 7 to talk about today. I watched episode 7 and 8, and boy, do I gotta say that everybody is getting on my nerves, and I don't know if that's a good thing. It reminds me of some of the more recent seasons of Big Brother, not this past season, which I actually enjoyed, but some of the more recent seasons where the cast, just everyone's getting on my nerves and I don't really like them. It's kind of what happened with these two episodes. There's not really a lot of people I still like. The only couple I still like is Ramses and Marissa, despite their big disagreement about Marissa being in the military and Ramses trying to stick to his guns about his political leanings where the military is concerned and all of the shit they do in other countries. I will say that Ramses to me sounded like a Twitter account come to life when it came to that. Just the whole moral superiority of it all was eye roll inducing, really. When people stick to their politics too much, I don't respect it. I'm sorry, I don't. I just feel like it becomes the moral Olympics, and I just can't get behind that fully. So, yeah, Ramses was kind of annoying to me in that conversation, even though I kind of agree with him. It was just so extreme. Like, oh, Marissa, if you went back in the military, we would have to divorce. Like, come on. Like, you're still individuals at the end of the day. Like, taking politics that seriously, I don't respect it. I just don't. So, I was more on Marissa's side than Ramses, despite agreeing with Ramses. So, however, I still just like them as the best couple. Like, they have the best communication. They communicate about everything. And despite this disagreement, they're at least continuing to communicate about it. I don't think Marissa's friends appreciated it either because they too were in the military. So I don't think they exactly liked Ramses on that meeting. I'm still rooting for them to work. Won't be that disappointed if they don't work because honestly, this show this season, don't know if I'm impressed with the couples at all. We'll move over to Tyler and Ashley next, real quick, only because I don't have a lot to say. Outside of the show, so much stuff has come out about Tyler allegedly that it's now hard for me to get invested in this Tyler and Ashley shit whatsoever. So until we actually see some drama from these two, I'm just kind of like not engaged with their story because knowing a little info about Tyler's past that has come out since the show has been airing, I need to see at least something from that play out on screen for me to once again be invested in them or just not like them whatsoever. I do still like Ashley. It's just, the info that came out about Tyler, it's like, it's hard for me to like him still. Nick and Chris from Family Guy are still together. Hannah is Chris from Family Guy, as I said in my last video. Hannah is just too much. I do feel like she is always trying to create issues between them for whatever reason. Nick has his problems as well, as we've seen in these past two episodes when it comes to, he still lives with his parents, and that's not the worst thing. But I did feel like he was uncomfortable in their conversations when it comes to moving in together and some of the stuff that Nick is going to have to do. I didn't agree with Hannah when she was bringing up like stocks. I felt like that was extreme. I don't think that needs to be discussed right now. And I didn't feel like Hannah was necessarily sounding intelligent about the stocks herself. I think she was kind of trying to sound more put together than Nick because of stocks, and I just didn't buy it. But Nick is still having, he has maturing to do too. They're like this really immature couple, and I would like to think that they could grow together. However, I don't like Hannah. And I just feel like I said when I first started talking about them just now is that she does she's always trying to find issues between them. And I don't know if that's cuz she's just not that into him. I don't know if that's just her personality in general, but that's not going to make them work out. Alex and Tim had a calmer 2 episodes compared to the last time I talked about them on episodes 5 and 6. Here on episodes 7 and 8, I liked Tim meeting Alex's parents. I think the conversation between Tim and Alex's dad was pretty heartwarming. I still don't see it for them as a couple. It's like Alex doesn't seem that into Tim, never really has. So on screen, it doesn't exactly play out as rootable, I suppose. And then the whole fight that they allegedly had that we didn't even get to see, so it's hard to talk about that because we don't get to take sides because we didn't see the fight. So I don't know. Tim asked her father for her hand in marriage. So Tim still seems like he wants to marry her. But like when they're together, Tim doesn't seem that into it anymore either. Tim's kind of like having Alex's vibe, where Alex has never seen that into it. Now Tim doesn't seem that into it. It's like they're just kind of going through the motions. So another crap couple there. And speaking of crap couples, one of the couples I did like until the past 2 episodes was Monica and Steven. But what a shit show they became, huh? Monica just came across as someone, especially in episodes 7 and 8 here, as somebody just so desperate to get married. And like, Steven was just going to be the guy because that's the guy the show found for her. It almost came off as like a caricature of a person just desperate to get married. So, what came to light about Steven, they still come across as like two birds of a feather to me. I felt like both of them kind of just came on to the show as characters almost. Maybe they were just trying to get the popularity rub for social media. I don't know. But then it comes to light that Steven was, I guess, DMing other girls. I don't know if it was a cheating scenario. It sounded more like a sex worker scenario. Like Steven was sexting, I don't know, people on Instagram or OnlyFans. I don't know. The show didn't show us that either. It's another problem I've had watching the show. I talked about it with the Alex and Tim fight when that happened. Now here again, the show's kind of like leaving out the initial fight and we just have to deal with the aftermath. And I don't understand how or why that happens. But it happened here again, so I don't know the whole story on the Steven situation, just that he was DMing other women about crazy kinks apparently. Not surprising. They had been dropping hints the whole time, especially in episode 7 when Steven's talking to Taylor about how like in a year, there's going to be women in the real world asking to suck his dick, and that conversation came out of nowhere, and I think Taylor was taken aback by that, and of course Monica was too. But literally the warning signs of Steven have been there since the very first time we saw a conversation between Steven and Monica back when they were in their pods, not seeing each other's faces. The very first conversation we see from them is Steven admitting that in a past relationship, the person he was with thought that Steven was cheating because of DMs he was sending. Like, this was literally the conversation he had with Monica. And at that point, she seemed to just sweep that under the rug. I mean, that was a huge red flag that he's admitting that he may have cheated in a past relationship, depending on how you see cheating, which is what he was saying in that conversation. So Monica maybe could have seen this coming. It's literally one of their first conversations, and then that's what happens. Clearly, Steven's just like a sex addict or something, or a porn addict. I don't know, but he got issues. I've enjoyed his personality the whole time, but yeah, the past two episodes clearly did them in. I think they're pretty much over. It was nice to see both Taylor and Garrett there for Monica to console her after the whole thing with Steven. Taylor and Garrett are the last couple to talk about. And, I started off really disliking Garrett. Compared to some of these other people now, he's not nearly as terrible as some of them. I'm assuming now, watching up to 8 episodes, which is like, I think three-fourths of the season almost. I guess in that initial episode, they edited him weird just because Garrett's just boring, I think. That's really what it comes down to. Garrett and Taylor don't get a lot of airtime. Not necessarily a bad thing for their relationship. I think they're pretty compatible because they're both just boring, mellow folks, I guess. Taylor's apartment kind of being like a male bachelor pad was kind of funny. Um, Taylor met Garrett's family. And I felt like that went well. I mean, Garrett's mother was concerned that they were moving too fast because that's kind of what the show does. It's almost like speed dating. Yeah, I mean, I can't hate on them. I mean, compared to every other couple outside of Ramses and Monica, they are the only true stable couple that also has a connection. So good on them. And I've always really enjoyed Taylor. It's just I didn't really like Garrett. Can't hate on him as much anymore compared to some of these other folks, but he is boring. So yeah, that's where we are with my opinions on the show. Most of these couples really suck. Um, Not impressed with the concept, with this being my first time watching Love is Blind. Still really love Ramses and Marissa despite their disagreements over military service and politics. They still continue to communicate through it. Ramses sticking too hard to his guns was eye roll worthy, but that's where we are. We'll see what episode 9 brings. I'll talk about it in a couple days, maybe. I haven't watched it yet, so we'll see. But yeah, mess. These were a messy 2 episodes that has me disliking the cast a little too much for my liking. I don't like when I dislike too much of a cast because it makes it hard for me to watch. I want to like at least half the cast. Like, come on. The problem with Tyler and Ashley is just the info that's come out about Tyler outside of what we're seeing on the show. He seems like a bad father with several kids. It hasn't played out on the show yet. I don't know if it will, but I hope for Ashley's sake that she finds out about that before they get married.